Instagram doctor commits almost perfect murder. Stephen Cozzi worked with a firm that specializes in bankruptcy, tax resolution, contracts, and business law. Blanchard Law was well respected in the community, and for a very good reason, as it had a reputation for upstanding ethical conduct. During his working day, Stephen Cozzi went to the restroom. This is not a problem, as all employees use the restroom during the day. But what was very odd was that when Stephen was seen entering the restroom, he was never seen leaving it. In fact, Stephen Cozzi was never seen again. The office building was a shared office space with many points of entry. Although there are 1 or 2 cameras, CCTV does not monitor most of the perimeter. So, with all of this in mind, what precisely happened to Stephen? The disappearance. The date was March 21st, 2023, which was considered to be a very difficult Tuesday for Stephen. He arrived at the office around 8:30 a.m., and from here, he settled into his rather familiar role. Stephen was always punctual, organized, and reliable as a colleague. His daily tasks were packed with emails awaiting his response and documents needing review, and he had a very significant hearing conference call that he was not looking forward to, scheduled for 10:30 a.m. It involved a popular plastic surgeon suing his former employer for defamation. There was a lot of contention around this telephone hearing, most notably because it was related to a lawsuit of the client that he was representing. Understandably, Stephen was quite nervous. Although he was restless about the call, nothing seemed unusual about Stephen's demeanor, and his colleagues noticed that he appeared calm. As the morning progressed, the office buzzed with activity. However, at around 10 a.m., Stephen excused himself to the restroom. He stepped away from his desk, leaving behind his personal items, including his phone, wallet, keys, and laptop, signaling that he fully intended to return rather quickly afterwards. Time ticked on, and Stephen's boss noticed that his absence was unusually long, and when he failed to dial in to the conference at 10:30 a.m. This wasn't like Stephen, and his colleagues knew that something was wrong. It was then that all his colleagues searched the building for Stephen. To make matters even stranger, his car was parked in the car park completely untouched. But when they checked the bathroom, those concerns would grow even stronger because not only was Stephen not there, but there were 2 clues left behind. After walking to the bathroom, they detected a very strong smell of bleach. Perhaps, but it appeared that the room had been thoroughly cleaned. Well, almost. Whoever cleaned the restroom missed small spots of blood. And now that the restroom was beginning to feel like a potential crime scene. A strange figure in black. The Largo police were called, and officers arrived a few minutes later. At this stage, the Largo Police Department's initial focus was on the law office itself, not the restroom. The police searched for any possible surveillance footage, and they were surprised by what they found. On the surveillance footage, a person wearing all black, a backpack, and gloves was seen entering the building. 2 hours later, that same individual was seen exiting the building. Upon exiting, the person was also seen pulling a large, very heavy bin. The man's face was obscured. The activity was very unusual for that office. The man with the backpack had changed clothes and left while struggling to load a large, heavy bin containing what appeared to be a bag or a blanket into a Toyota Tundra. Forensic analysis confirmed that the strange droplets found in the restroom were traces of blood. Further examination would also uncover more blood outside of the bathroom. DNA testing confirms that it did belong to Stephen Cozzi. Investigators now had a missing person, an active crime scene, and footage of a man who could potentially be responsible. But who would want Stephen gone, and why? Well, to answer that question, we must first look at the telephone meeting that he was supposed to attend that morning. AKA Dr. Tampa Bay. Dr. Tomasz Kosowski received a master's degree before attending the School of Business, where he graduated in 2007. He later studied plastic surgery. His employers described him as a pioneer in the field. Dr. Tampa Bay was his handle on Instagram and other social media platforms. He shared his plastic surgery success on Instagram, posting many videos of himself, his life, and his work. He would then go on to receive national recognition and be featured in multiple books, TV shows, and on social media, which all celebrated his many achievements. But here's the problem. The good doctor was so proud of his work that he would never let anyone say anything negative about it. He was fiercely protective of all his achievements and of his reputation. And this is where his issues began to spiral. Then troubles began. Initially working for the Alpha Institute in 2016, he ran into trouble when he failed to file claims legally and even lied to his patients. This not only cost him thousands of dollars, but it also resulted in several extremely bad reviews about him being posted online. He blamed his employer for his troubles. He believed these posts would obliterate his promising young career. It was said that, through no fault of his own, his career was put directly in jeopardy, and his reputation was deeply tarnished. With lawsuits pending, this is where Stephen Cozzi would eventually come into the picture. Where is Stephen Cozzi? Dr. Tampa Bay, also known as Dr. Tomasz Kosowski, 44, was arrested and charged with the murder of attorney Stephen Cozzi on Saturday after the Tampa-based lawyer was last seen at his job at Blanchard Law, according to Largo police. The connection to these two men was that Kosowski was suing Cozzi's clients, who were Kosowski's former employers. Kosowski allegedly dialed into a telephone hearing related to his lawsuit against the clients of Cozzi. Cozzi never connected to the hearing or left the office building, the affidavit asserted, according to the Times. It would be relatively unusual, though not unprecedented, if authorities proved that Cozzi's work indeed made him a target of violence. Surveys of legal professionals in 28 U.S. states from 2006 and 2018 showed that between about 33% and 53% of respondents reported either being assaulted or threatened because of their work. Here is what happened to Stephen Cozzi. It started as a routine court hearing telephone call. By the end of the day, it would be the first step in a nightmare. The camera saw what no one else did. Along the quiet Florida roads, a Toyota Tundra rolled toward Thomas Kosowski's home. The grainy, colorless image was easy to miss except for the shape in the truck bed. A bag, or blanket, heavy, lumpy, stretched taut in a way that suggested it was carrying more than just cargo. It looked like a body. Hours later, the machines recorded movement again. This time, it wasn't the Tundra but Kosowski's red Corolla, slipping out of his neighborhood, heading south. Miami. Always moving, always one step ahead, or so he thought. Back at the Blanchard Law Office, investigators were peeling back layers of something far more sinister. The bathroom Stephen Cozzi had last entered told a silent story. Blood, first spilt, then erased. Someone had tried to scrub the floor clean, but you can't erase everything. Under the fluorescent light, the stain lingered. And in a breaker room locked away from clients, Kosowski had left his fingerprint, like an echo, a whisper that he had been there. By Thursday, the hunt had sharpened. A search warrant in hand, detectives walked into Kosowski's garage and found the Tundra. The vehicle reeked of violence. Blood streaked the truck bed. It dotted the driver's headrest. It stained the floorboard and spattered across the garage floor. Every drop told a story too gruesome to ignore. The truck itself was a phantom. Kosowski had never registered it, never filed the title, though the seller had. On paper, it didn't exist. In reality, it was drenched in evidence. The arrest. Saturday, police closed in. They pulled Kosowski over in his Corolla. The scene inside was something out of a killer's manual. A ballistic vest, soaked in blood. Fibers matching the rug or bag seen in the Tundra. Matching the bathroom where the blood had been scrubbed. Matching the car Cozzi had parked outside his office before he vanished. And then there was the bag. Sitting on the floorboard, like a kit prepared for the unspeakable, a stun gun. Duct tape. Masks. Brass knuckles, syringes loaded with sedatives. Among them is succinylcholine, a paralyzing agent used in medicine to silence the body and freeze it mid-breath. Piece by piece, the mosaic came together. A court hearing conference call. a missing attorney, a truck in the shadows, and an Instagram doctor whose secret life had begun to unravel under the unblinking eyes of the city's surveillance cameras. Out of control anger. By early Sunday morning, the hunt for answers had led police to a single conclusion: Dr. Tomasz Cozzi. Officers booked him into jail, alleging there was enough evidence to tie him to attorney Stephen Cozzi's disappearance. If prosecutors proved their case, Cozzi could face the harshest of sentences, which is life in prison or even death. But inside the courtroom on Monday, the story took on a quieter, more unsettling tone. A bail hearing was postponed. His defense attorney, Bjorn Brunvand, tried to pull the lens back, asking the public to keep an open mind while he conducted his own investigation into what he described as very serious charges. For Cozzi, aka Dr. Tampa, the charges were not just criminal. They struck at the heart of a personal narrative he had been writing for years. A lawsuit filed 4 years earlier showed a man convinced that his promising future had been sabotaged. In that case, he accused his former colleagues of the Laufer Institute of Plastic Surgery and the woman who managed his insurance billing of incompetence, dishonesty, and professional betrayal. His claims were searing: botched tax filings, lies to patients, reputational ruin. Dr. Tampa's social media plastic surgery career hung in the balance. The complaints sought damages, but between the lines, it carried something else: was a simmering anger. The unchecked feelings of anger finally manifested. He felt his identity had been stolen along with his career. Cozzi left the Laufer Institute in 2018, once known for breast reconstruction surgeries, and tried to rebuild in private practice. But his lawsuit named Cozzi and his colleagues at the Blanchard law firm as defenders of the very people he held responsible for his downfall. He wanted revenge. It was a professional dispute on paper. In reality, it had begun to look like the origin of something much darker. We pray for the victim, Stephen Cozzi. And if you enjoyed the Fatal Files podcast, please like and subscribe for more. And hit that bell to get notified for the next Fatal Files.